This is September 18th, Daily Stock Picks newsletter. This is Mitch King. I want to start off by showing you the market volatility index is what we call the VIX. You can call it a fear index if you wanted to, because that's really what it is. And when it goes really high, that means the higher amount that the market has a lot of selling pressure, usually very negative, extreme volatility. And as you can see here today, we had a high of 42.16, which is really, really high. Anytime you get over 32, 33, you've got a real bottom in the market. And obviously, it was the perfect storm to continue to go to 42, and then it closed at 33. So there's the close right about there where the tip of my pointer is there. And this is just really extreme. Let me zoom out a little bit and show you a couple years of data. These are major bottoms in the market. There was one in July 15th there with all the financials. Here was one in March earlier this year, a real nice bottom. And then again in January. So all those were major bottoms. And if I can show you to counteract to show you a stock chart of the S&P 500, let me show you that in just a second. So here's the S&P 500. So let's take a look, and this is a comparison symbol, and right there this morning was the bottom in the S&P 500, which is this orange line, and that was the top of this. So the further away they are from each other, those points, the top of the price chart of the VIX and the bottom of the S&P 500, and you can see the further away they are, that's the better signal that you're going to get that you've got the bottom in. I'm predicting that we've got the bottom in for quite some time now, barring any other some extreme news. But I think most of the problems are behind us with the market here, and I think possibly we can have a little bit of a pullback in the market because it did rebound over 600 points from the bottom to the top today on the Dow Jones. So if we go to the Dow Jones, and the bottom, this was 10,459 and the high was 11,076, which was pretty close to the close. So there's over a 620 point swing there. Let's take a look at a few individual stocks. Let's take a look at Morgan Stanley. You saw me talk about this on last night's report. Accelerating volume. The stock hit a low today. Actually, it opened at a little over $20, dropped to $11.70, and then rebounded to just under $25. So a person could have easily doubled their money on this stock today from the bottom to the top. Let's take a look at Goldman Sachs. This stock rebounded too. It rebounded quite a bit after hours. I think it was just under 118, 119. After the market closed, these stocks continued to go up. It's very conceivable to see a little bit of a pullback in these stocks tomorrow, and that would be a good opportunity on many stocks if we see a pullback on the overall market just for a short, brief moment. It was what I would expect at the most, and then a good entry point. So if you go back to this volatility index that I showed you earlier, it's very conceivable to see this go back up to 36, 37 at the very most, and then resume back going down as the market goes up. So think about a second chance to get long on some stocks that you might have missed. Apple Computers, what I mentioned a couple days ago, that stock hit about $120, rebounded to 134 at the close, went up a few more dollars after the market closed on some positive news that the government is going to build a RTC like a Resolution Trust Corp that saved the savings and loans. It's a very different situation, but basically it's going to be a rescue patch, a proposal to rescue the housing market by taking all the bad mortgages and put them with one portion of the government in some sort of agency. I don't see how the U.S. is going to be able to afford that, but that seems to be what they're going to try to do. Let's take a look at FXI. I think I mentioned this a couple days ago, sometime this week. This stock here had a low of 31.45, closed at 35.31. or a correction 3508. But what's really interesting about this is the Chinese market is, the Chinese government said that they're going to start buying stocks to prop up the stock market, as well as get rid of the tax on the profits from the stocks, our equivalent of a capital gains tax. Right now, the Chinese markets are up about 10%. So I expect when this FXI opens tomorrow in the New York Stock Exchange, this thing's going to go up, probably $38 or so. I bought this stock, I think, yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and it was just around $30. Let's take a look at some other financials. Let's take at the financial index. You can see that had a huge swing from $60.46 to $70, so that's $10, and that is about a 16% gain from the bottom to the top on an ETF, which is the equivalent of an index. Here's a couple of the oil stocks. There's an independent oil one, XTO. It moved up so much on 2 days ago. It went from a low of like $44 to a high of $54 in 2 days. So I didn't expect too much from that. I thought this one actually would pull back a little bit. Let's take a look at some other ones that I've followed this year on and off. Here's GDP. Had another nice little day up today, 9%, which doesn't seem much compared to the other big stocks. Let's take a look at some other oil stocks. Let's take a look at Chinese stock. Huge move there, 11% for a oil stock. This is PetroChina, and this is going to really open up big tomorrow. Probably gap right up. So this thing's going to probably continue to march up, especially if oil continues to move itself. Let's take a look at oil. It had a little bit of a bounce today. Oil did go as high as $100 per barrel, closed at $97.60. And let's take a look at another Chinese oil stock. This one had a 7% gain, up 528. This is China's Petroleum and Chemical Corp. I anticipate this one gapping up. Here's that GLD, the Gold Trust ETF. Boy, that really moved up from yesterday's close at 85, went up to 91, then pulled back along with all the gold. It was the largest gain in gold spot prices in history. I think it was close to $90 per ounce gain. And let's take a look at a few others. The Kellogg I was mentioning, General Mills, these food stocks have just really moved. I saw this a couple months ago but didn't really see the move. Just reviewing Apple again, I would think that this is, even though if it pulls back $3 or $4 tomorrow and moves up higher, kind of like the old Nike swoosh action I'm talking about, I still see this stock going to 150, low 150s, and this is a really interesting. You're just going to have to. I just see this stock outside the financial sector, a tech stock that's been real popular this year. I think this one's going to continue to move up. This is the oil and gas ETF. I use DIG as a indicator of an overall view of what oil stocks are doing. I still think this one's going to start moving up here in the next several months along with these oil stocks, and this is an indication of many oil and gas stocks. So today was pretty much what we were looking for, and we'll see how it acts. I would expect tomorrow is going to be a pretty bullish day, and I have no idea what we'll see next week. Probably a little bit of pullback. Keep your position sizes small relative to your total account size, and keep your stop limits. And you guys have a good weekend.